Hi, my name's Dan and I'm a video strategist and a video first marketer. That means I use video methodically across all of their marketing channels to achieve results such as engagement, sales and leads. This is my podcast, the Video Marketing Toolkit. In the podcast, you can expect a 30-minute to an hour conversation with a business owner or expert in marketing. In each episode, we talk about their origin story and where they started, right up into what they're doing today, as well as handing out lots of tips and tricks along the way. In this episode, I spoke to Adam Stretton. He's a business owner in Swaddling Co, and he has an incredible life so far. He's a business owner, he's been in the army, he's been a professional athlete, and he's also been on the 90s TV show Gladiators. Thanks so much for sticking around, and I hope you enjoy the podcast. Adam, thank you so much for coming onto the podcast. For those at home who don't know who you are already, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Dan. So I'm Adam Stretton, owner, CEO, chief instructor of the Fight Station, and also a firefighter at East Midlands Airport.
Brilliant. And you've done a little bit more in your past as well. You're not just a firefighter and instructor, are you?
No, so I have been to school around here. I'm a local lad. But then when I was sort of the later side of my 15-year-olds, I moved down south to live with my dad near Basingstoke, who was in the Royal Air Force. Went to college down there, and then went on a TV show, did a few little bits. Joined the military.
Amazing.
So I'm trying to keep it short, but yeah, I've done quite a few things.
You've been all over the place, which is great. So what was your time in the army like?
It was good at the time, and I think everyone who's ex-military all sort of agree with this to somewhat. At the time, it's the worst time of your life, and it is. You're there, and you're in there, and you're lying in the dirt. You're in a shell scrape, or where you've like dug a hole basically in the ground, and they're like, right, live in that for 6 hours, live in that for 2 weeks, live in that for 6 months.
Crazy.
Do you know what I mean? So you can do that, during the training, and then in reality, when you go to Afghanistan, Iraq, it might be like I say, the 6 month period, but. You're doing it in training, and you're like thinking, "Oh God's sake, what am I doing here?" Oh, and you got rain, and you got all the elements, and you're like, "This is rubbish. What am I doing it for?" And you're getting bitten by things, and when it's warmer, then you get bitten by things, and you're like, "What am I doing?" And you're on a rubbish wage. Let's be honest, it is rubbish. You're on minimum wage pretty much, but. You then talk again to these same people that are that are now veterans, as we're now called. And you talk to us, and you're like, "Oh, I remember when we were like getting bitten, but that was brilliant. That was." So I don't know. It's a difficult question because at the time it's the worst time. Yeah. But it's the harder you got pushed in the army, the better memories, and that seems to be true of everyone I speak to.
Definitely. And I guess it's building those relationships with those people who you're going through it with as well, isn't it? Like you're making friends for life, people that you'll, network with and stay connected with for like days and days to come. And it must have been hell. I can't imagine at all going through anything like that. So, props for you for doing that. Like, that's amazing.
There's one I will say, it's just popped in my mind. And the guy's from near Lichfield way, Brownie. Lovely guy, and he was a little bit younger than me, and we were sharing a basher, so like a temporary tent, if you like. Yeah. And it was snowing. It was our first ex, so we did one night, but it was a big deal. Do you know what I mean? It was the first time you were in the middle, and you got like your weapon, and you're there, and it's basically on a nice plain grass field. It was really, compared to what we did later in the forces, we're there, and we're like, right, okay, and there's like a path there, and it was dead simple. It was on the camp. So you're not out in the elements or anything, but it was snowing. And we're there, and this guy next to me, he's like, cuddled. He was like, and he was like, I've had enough. I'm going to call my mum. And I went, what? And he went, no. He said, they can't, this is illegal. It's snowing. Did they not realize? They can't make you do this. It's cold, Adam, it's cold. And I was going, mate, I says, they're going to send us to war where people are going to shoot us. I said, this is just
nothing in comparison.
Yeah, so, but it was, bless him, he was a great lad. He stayed in for quite a period, I believe. So
that's good.
Out of touch with him, but he was a lovely lad.
Was there any moments where you thought, like, I can't do this, like, I've got to throw in the towel, like, personally?
No, never. No,
you always had that drive.
I loved it. It was, as I say, I loved it. At the time, you're like, right, what's better? I had a mate who set up, my best mate, he set up a used car dealership on himself. And he did that. So I'm seeing him having all these nice cars and motorbikes and a nice house. And, he was like living there, and you go there and he's always got a wad full of cash. And I was like, flipping out, I've only got. But you had everything you needed.
Yeah.
You know, it's a simple life, but it was a very fruitful life because you were living with your mates. You know, your best mate, you're living with them, and you're sharing all the bad times, but all the good times as well.
Yeah. It's that sort of not wholesome experience, but kind of like, like you say, everything's complete. It's kind of like you do what you have to do. You always get through it together, and then it's a lot more rewarding, I imagine. Whereas sometimes it's like the materialistic life, it doesn't always come that rewarding along with it, does it really? And like it always leaves you feeling a little bit unfulfilled sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I was told when I was in, it was good, I suppose it was good advice, but when you're like in your teens and early 20s, you know better than anyone else.
Yeah.
And, we've all been there, you're there and you're told, don't waste your money on beer, and beer and fast women. Buy property, buy, save, invest and all that. And you're like,
give it away.
What do they know? And I was there. I bought a nice car when I was young. And I was driving through Burton with my mum, showing her off my new car. And I was like, oh, look at this, Mum. And she went, for the price of this, you could put that down and buy one of these houses on the A444. And I looked on Stanton Road, and I said, Mum, house prices are never going to go up. I was like, I think I was at 18 with an RS Turbo. As
you knew best in that situation.
And I was like, Mum, you don't know nothing. Listen to me. I'll make loads of money I'm still waiting. I wish I'd have listened to her, to be honest.
You would have definitely made a good investment.
Yeah, they're worth a lot more than my RS Turbo.
Yeah,
now.
Definitely. But I guess that's it. That's sort of the development, and that sort of leads on to my next question as well. So during the time in the army, is there anything that you learned that you have brought forward today that you use in business?
Yeah, totally. I think the biggest one for me, and it was a massive reason why I joined the army, is because I was a single child, if you like, until I was 13. And then my brother came along, and I was like, do you know what? I didn't share. I couldn't, even with, he's little, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's my little baby brother. I'm going to look after him. I'm going to do this. I hated sharing anything. And if it was like I've got a drink, and I'd see someone going, oh, I'm thirsty. I'm like, do you know what
It's
I mean?
mine. It's no one else's.
It was horrible, but I realised that, and I hated myself for it.
Yeah.
And I thought, I can't break out of this. And as I mentioned earlier, my mate who set up the cars, I met him in the hotel industry down in Basingstoke, and for me, he was brilliant. He taught me so many life values, and I was like, God, everyone likes this guy. But he was like, right, I'm doing it. But he shared everything.
Yeah.
And, and he taught me so many values along that way. It's like if one of us was at work, we both did the same job at Tilney Hall Hotel, both concierge. So if we were on different shifts, he'd go back and he'd be like, Adam, give us a kid to your house. And I'm like, I don't share. I'm like, what's he want that for?
Yeah,
he's going to steal
want
something, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it wasn't. He was like, right, what are you wearing, mate? What? He says, well, I'll pick you up when you finish. He says, then we'll go straight out. What are you wearing? Are you wearing that shirt? Or, yeah, okay, mate, I'll iron them for you. And this guy is there, and he'd iron my kit, and he'd be like, all right, there you go. Right, come on, let's go. Right, how are you fixed for money? Well, I've not. I'm a bit short until I get paid. Well, I got my army pension, so I'll get these. Don't worry about it. And it was never right. I've done that for you. You owe this for me. Now he was never like that, and I thought, do you know, I want to be like that. And I've never told him that because I'm always like, do you know what I mean? Your best mate, and you're like,
it's not something you want to admit. You don't admit it to him.
Yeah, but I think maybe you should hear it. But yeah, he taught me a lot, and I wanted to be like that. So that was one of my main reasons I joined the army, was to learn, not only to learn how to share, but how to trust people. And then when I was in the army, I did learn that, you know what, you can't do everything on your own. There's specialist people, and for business, that translates massively. And I'm still learning that today, to like think, oh no, I'll clean, because I'm, you know, when you first, I'm sure all business owners will relate to this, that have started on their own, that you start and you think, do you know what, I'll clean that because no one else will know how to clean it as good as this.
Yeah.
I'll sell because no one will sell it as good as me. No one knows my product. No one's as passionate about that as me. But then what you learn through the process of business is that, you know what, that person loves cleaning. Why don't I let them do it? And they're going to make probably a better job than I will.
Definitely.
And you've got to think, okay. But it's big. I mean, it's like, you know, having you as part of our team now, Dan, it's like, for me, that was a massive trip. I'm like, well, no, because Pip does an amazing job. Why should I put it outside the family circle?
Like, who is this guy? It's like,
and then
what?
it was obviously one of the best moves I've made. I'm like, oh, brilliant. You know, we're going from strength to strength already. And it is incredible, but it's learning to trust, and that you can't wear all these caps. You've got to put it out there, and you've got to trust other people.
That's what I was going to say. Like, as a business owner, when you're first starting out, you're expected to wear so many hats. You're the manager, the accountant, the marketer, the sales. Like, there's so much to like go through, and you have to like almost, as you grow and scale up, take that deep breath and like start to let go and be like, right, who can I put in charge of each of these areas? Like, if you think about it, like look at like Richard Branson and other billionaires and really successful entrepreneurs. They're not necessarily the greatest what they can do in their certain fields, but what they are really good at is employing the right people, putting the right people in the right team, surrounding themselves in the right people, putting the right people in the right places, and just knowing who to trust in running their company, so they can step back and sort of deal with the things that matter really, rather than trying to be hands-on everywhere.
Absolutely, yeah, totally agree. Yeah, and the thing is as well, it's evolution. So when I started, I had my cousin Jonathan, and it was basically I had the upstairs. I had a 3-story house, on the top floor, which later become our bedroom, was empty at the time. And I says, Jonty, mate, I says, I know you've been doing kickboxing, but I want to teach you this way, and I want you to learn it my way. And we'll go through everything so you can teach for me, because I'm a firefighter. I'd only just joined. I mean, it's like nearly 20 years ago. I've joined the fire service, and that's my career. But that means that I'm not always going to be there, so I need someone to cover the classes when I'm not there. And he was like, being family as well, and a lovely, lovely guy. And he goes, yeah, of course, Adam. He says, whatever you need. He said, I really enjoyed that. He says, you're going to trust me, and with responsibility. I went, yeah, of course. And I was like, of course, I'm at work at first, and I've got my phone in my hand all the time thinking, oh my God, what's going to go wrong? What's going to go wrong? And he did absolutely fantastic. But as I was saying, I taught him at the top floor of my house. We had this big open space, and we were just like sparring and going through I was like, no, that's not quite right. I need it like this. I need to teach it like this. So for him, he did fantastic. He was a brilliant fighter, but he was an even better instructor. He could get it across more and that's my fault. And I take personal responsibility for that, because I got him to a level so he understood it, but I wanted him to teach more than sort of do it himself, if that makes sense.
And it could be really rewarding for an employee or, a partner, someone in your network, to receive that responsibility from you. Like, they think, oh, wow, like, I've been given this responsibility, I must be doing a good job already. It's a really good morale booster just to get more people involved and keep that, like, company morale high, really, isn't it? Keep those spirits high.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like, say, the evolution of it as well, and like you said earlier, it's having the right people in the right places at the right time. And Jonathan was amazing. And then he sort of moved away. He's moved to Manchester, and I was like, "Oh my God! What now? What? Panic!" And I've been. I always say it, but I've been absolutely blessed with people surrounding me. And Josh came along, and Josh was then my right-hand man, and he came along, and then Christian came along, and now Dave's come along, and it's like, oh my God! I'm so lucky, because, and I always say, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be able to do this. Because I can't do it on my own, as well as being a firefighter. And I love being a firefighter, and I'm not a businessman. Even though we won, we won Business Award of the Year last year for the leisure industry, which was a massive deal. And they got me on stage, and they're awarding us this the award. Yeah. And myself and Philippa were on stage, and they're going, right, so tell us what's made you such a successful businessman. And I've just like crumbled. I'm like, I'm not a businessman. I says, I'm not in it for money. I just want to develop people. And for me, the reason I started is because what I felt at the time, there wasn't a gym or a facility that offered what I do. And I wanted to develop people and make it a safer area with traditional values. It used to be round here, tip your cap, hey, up my duck, and everyone used to talk to each other. Yeah. And now it's like, oh no, because they might stab me. What on earth's that? You know,
There is that
the
sort
environment's
of
changed.
times have changed, but sort of just going back to what you said about like earning those awards and stuff. I think this is such a big thing in business, especially with new business owners. I've experienced this myself, but it's like not really like understanding the true value that you bring to your community or the true value that your work does. Because sometimes you like you say, you're a fireman, you're not a business person. Like you don't have that, like you don't award yourself sometimes that I am that businessman or I am that strong person. And I think it's important as business owners to take that step back sometimes and just be like, I've built this. I've actually done this myself. Well, I've done this myself and with my network around me, but I'm responsible for this. And I think it can be so rewarding, like having that feeling as well.
Yeah, it is totally. I mean, I started at Newhall Village Hall, and we were, I always joke about it, but it was true. I'm fortunate that I've still got a handful of people that started with me all them years ago, so like 17 years ago or something, are still with me, a handful. And if they go, I'll be like, I'll see you soon, because it's in your blood, you're going to come back. And they do. And they'll be like, flipping heck, can you remember when we were at the Village Hall? We used to have to pick up the bingo tables, put them on the stage and all the chairs, pick up someone's false teeth, Doris's false teeth, put them on the side, and then you had to sweep up because they're like, all their boiled sweet wrappers were on the floor. And I'm not just making this up. This is true stories. And we're like sweeping up. Then originally it was wooden floors and we had to do it in trainers. And we had, I probably had about 6 kick shields. And I was like, because it was safe to do in those, and it was bare hands, and I had gloves. And we built it up from there.
So obviously at the fight station, what you're currently doing right now, you are really dedicated to your local community, but you're not just about teaching kickboxing. What else do you do at the fight station?
Yeah, so for me, the punches and kicks is just a way into people's mindset and into their hearts. And if we can change their minds into being more positive, being safer, and being a more loving community, as cliche as that sounds, it's a bit of understanding for each other. And making it a better environment for us all to live in this area. Outside of that, we do a lot of charity work. So last year we focused on one charity. It was a firefighters charity last year. We raised £2,100 for them.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was very good, and Pip did extraordinary. She did a lot of marketing for it. And did a ultra marathon, listening and watching Fireman Sam as doing it. I was like, flipping it. Even that would be a sacrifice.
Yeah, I think that will be enough for me. Just watching like an ultra marathon worth of Fireman Sam sat down.
And I think the hardest thing is she couldn't run away from it.
Yeah,
she was on a treadmill.
Constantly there.
Speed it up, get away. But no, we had a few other events, and it was really good. Going on this year, it's for young minds. So for young minds, it's for mental health charity for young people under 25, and also helps their parents in difficulty with people under 25 with challenges.
That's brilliant. So obviously very mental health orientated at the moment, which is, in the last few years, mental health has really been just getting bigger and bigger thing. The awareness is out there now where it wasn't used to be. What does mental health mean to you?
Mental health is very much, and it's again a bit of a cliche, everyone's saying it at the minute, but it is very much like your physical health. You need to take care of it. We've all got it. It's people like, I don't have mental health. Yeah, you have. It's just that your mental health's in pretty good shape. Do you know what I mean? So it's, we all get a little bit fatter at times over Christmas, but we also face challenges mentally, especially over Christmas. So it touches me because I did mention earlier on in this week that one of my friends from 9 Parachute Squadron committed suicide just before Christmas, just over a year ago. And I was reminded by seeing it flash up on Facebook by his family. I'm like, oh no. And he was a beautiful man, someone I always thought, he's doing really well. And I think this is the downside of social media, that we compare ourselves to this perfect lifestyle that we see. And we saw it, and I saw it, and I thought, he's really good looking. He's got a great family. He's a lot more successful than me. He's got a nice house. And then obviously he did have his problems, and he didn't talk to anyone. And it is hard for us guys to talk, especially it is for women as well. I'm not saying otherwise, but for men, I think we have this, especially from this area, we have this like, hey up, Duck, I'm all right, I'm tough,
Yeah.
I'll live it
Hard
out.
exterior.
Yeah, and you see it as a vulnerability and you see it as a sign of weakness, but how nice is it to help someone? Do you know what I mean? When
Yeah.
you help someone, you always think, oh, I don't want to ask you, mate, because I don't want to be a burden. But if you help me in some way, you feel great about it. And if you says, Adam, could I? I'm like, yeah, of course. How can I help? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're actually, by helping yourself, by asking someone for help, it's good for them.
Like, I don't think I've ever helped anyone and thought, oh, I feel awful after that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You always, you feel good for helping.
But how
for
do you
doing a good
feel
thing.
asking someone for help?
Yeah, it's very difficult.
It
with
is,
that hard exterior.
even if it's some flipping shopping bags or something. And you'll always get someone, especially round SWAD. Hey up, mate, can I give you a hand with that? And you'll be like, oh no, it's all right, I've got this. Let people help you.
Yeah,
because it helps them.
It's that pride. People have a lot of pride, I think, as well.
Definitely, yeah.
That they feel like they have to keep, showing face. They have to keep this hard exterior for other people. But 9 times out of 10, all it's doing is damaging themselves and probably the people around them as well.
Totally,
it's probably doing more harm than good.
Yeah, and that's the thing at the fight station. It's to get into their minds and say, even from our Little Heroes class, which is like from 3.5 upwards, and the adult classes as well. I'll walk around and I'll be like, who's the best in here? And they'll be like, and I'll love it because they'll be like, you are. And I'll be like, oh, thank you, 10 push-ups. and I did it this Saturday, just gone, and I'll be like, oh, brilliant. And it's great for my ego, of course. and then I'll be like, who is it? And then they think, right, I've just said that child next to me say it's you, and that was wrong. It'll be that one there. It's that coach. And they'll be like, it's Evan. And I'll be like, and Evan's like, oh, thanks. And I'll be like, well, yeah, I'm sure I say thank you for that, but no, you're wrong, 10 push-ups. And then they're like, the children are like, right, okay, this isn't working. There's no one. And so they look outside, look into the viewing gallery in the cafe, and they're like, it's mummy, it's daddy. Oh, brilliant. And they should be your hero. 10 push-ups. Until they're saying, right, who's the best in there? And they'll be going, me. And I'm like, I can't hear you. Don't sound very convinced. Because you've got to believe what you say. You've got to be passionate. It's all right saying, oh, I'm going to be the best version of me. Everyone says this these days. It's always on podcasts. It's always on flipping social media. Oh, you've got to be the best version of you. And that's all right if you believe it.
Yeah.
But people don't. And as our motto says, and it's on the back of our hoodies, dream it, believe it, achieve it. And the hard part in that, everyone's got a dream. We're dreamers. We are. Humans, we're dreamers, and that's brilliant. But you've got to believe it. And when you believe it, the achievement part's easy. It really is that easy. And it's all right for, these millionaires always say that getting their first million was always the hardest. After that, I'm a multi-millionaire now. And they all say this. And you're like, well, tell me the formula.
Yeah.
And it is, but for me, I'm not interested in being rich. That won't make me happy. Maybe it would, but
definitely help along the way.
Let's not lie. But it'd be, it might make things a bit more fun. But for me, it's about living in a nicer environment, being happy, and all we want is to be happy together and to help each other.
And just going back to what you mentioned about, helping each other, having that hard exterior. I think when it comes to business as well, sometimes it can be quite lonely being a business owner. Like obviously what you mentioned before, when you felt like the world was against you, and like you don't know who to turn to, because who knows as much about your business than you do. Who knows as much about your situation than you do. But that's why I think it's really important to talk about your problems with other business owners. Go to networking events, not just to network with people and try and sell yourself, but also go to networking events just to connect with people, getting friends with the safe. Getting friends who have that same sort of issues that you go through, because it goes back to a problem shared is a problem halved. Like getting ideas from other people about how to overcome certain things, it feels refreshing, and it almost feels like, oh, I'm not alone, I'm not the only person going through all of these things, and other people are here to help.
The last 2 years, I've spent literally thousands of pounds on a mastermind group in martial arts. In specifically kickboxing. So I've paid thousands of pounds, like each month, paid into this mastermind group where we've sat around tables and we've had a coffee, we've had lectures off other entrepreneurs inside and outside of martial arts. Some trying to sell us, telling us to get into property to develop that way and increase your wealth that way. But a lot of simple things are answered. And I thought, flip, why didn't I do this so much earlier? Rather than try and invest into what I thought was like, right, I need to buy more bags. I need to buy this. I need to do this for the gym. If I had invested in myself and my mental health, as well as my mindset, then I'd be here 10 years ago, 15 years ago. I'd have been here. I seriously believe that. So you've got to invest in yourself. And if that's investing in yourself to go to the gym, that's an investment. Don't see it as like an expense, because you don't see when you do other things, you're like, oh, I'll buy that. And it's either going to cost you or it's an investment. And when I spend now, I don't buy things, I invest. And that is going to the gym. That is coming here. That's an investment. And there's no price on that. The price is secondary, because you can always find a way.
And there's going to be an outcome from it. You're going to get an outcome from going to the gym.
Yeah, of course you are.
By investing in yourself, there's something to receive at the end of it. Whereas an expenditure, normally, it happens and it's gone. It's an inconvenience, but you are actively moving towards something.
Yeah.
What would you say is like the steps that someone has to undertake in order to change something about their life?
Massive question. I can go, I've done public speaking in mental health. So for me, I could spend the next 6 hours just on the surface of this. The first thing is understanding of yourself. You've got to take some responsibility and think, look, okay, it isn't everyone else's fault. It's acceptance. So the first thing for me is acceptance, and that is the toughest part of it. And I had to do it. As I said earlier, I was in a really bad place. My personal life was in a bad way. And I was like, it's so easy, and it's what we naturally do. It's a defense mechanism to blame other people. I'm like, well, it's their fault that I'm in debt. It's their fault that I'm unhappy. It's their fault that I've done this. It's their fault that I've been pushed and forced into this area.
Yeah.
And I thought, do you know what? Cut the crap. It's my fault. And when I did that, it was like, and it was like the world opened up, and it was like, hallelujah, you're actually bloody taking responsibility, mate. And it was that, for me, that was taking acceptance was a massive step. And then it was like, right, okay, what are you going to do about it? And then you start looking at other areas and think, right, now I've accepted it's my fault. How can I learn from it? So, and it's like a lot of people say this: you got to fall, and you will make a lot of falls, but you got to fall forwards. Not back, not think, oh, it's a back, oh, I'm back here now, oh, maybe that's not for me, maybe going to the gym isn't for me because I'm aching. You've got to fall forwards and think, do you know what, I'm aching. That's a good thing. I've learned that this muscle's getting stronger, and it's the same as your heart, same as your mind. You've got to learn from it and think, okay, this is a big challenge, so we don't have, what is it people will always say? They always say, oh, it's ever so bad. I can't remember what the word is. People always...
I'm not too sure.
It's so common that people say, oh, a problem.
Okay.
Oh, I've got this problem. Oh, I'm so proud. And I'll say, it's not a problem, it's a challenge. And, I was talking to a very dear friend only a few days ago, and he was like saying, and he was a big, strong dude. And he was like, my problem is that. And I'm like, it's not a problem, it's a challenge. And if you're religious or not, I always see it that God or whoever you believe in, you're only given these challenges when you're strong enough to accept them. And it's a challenge because you've got to develop yourself the other side of it. So if I'm here now thinking, right, okay, everything's perfect, there's always going to be challenges. And then when that challenge comes, you've got to think, okay, how can I learn from it? It's not a problem. It might start a panic attack of thinking, oh, I can't see the way through it. You can always get through it. And you know what? The world is better with you in it. No matter who you are, the world is always better with you in it. And you need to believe that.
I think that's a really good message. And it all ties in as well to, like you said, facing problems, it is a challenge. And sometimes, when you have a go and a crack at this challenge, you're not always going to beat it first time. You're not always going to win first time. But it's what you're taking the responsibility that you tried and then learning, okay, how can I approach this differently next time? How can I go at it again? And keep on trying, keep on pushing, having that drive, because you're not going to overcome every issue first time without any problems first time, are you? It's about that development and that, those stepping stones moving forward until you finally become the person you want to be and do what you want to do.
Yeah, totally.
Because I think responsibility as well, there's a lot of people out there that, like you say, will blame other people. They blame other factors, other external factors, and don't take it on themselves just to be like, I need to do this, I want to do this. And I think that can be as well business owners before they start out. There's always that fear before, and there's like, oh, I'm not a business owner. I'm never going to be able to do that to myself, or, I'm just going to stick in this 9 to 5. Or instead, you've got to, I can do it. I am going to be that person that's going to do it, and I'm going to go out and do it and absolutely smash it. And it does take a lot to do that sometimes, but small stepping stones easily build up to something big to sort of change and make that big life-changing moment, I think.
Yeah, definitely. It's like I was saying with all our classes, I'm like, who's the best in here? And it has to be you. And you have to believe it, because no matter what in time, even your parents will doubt you. Even if you're like, it's not really for us. And I was told this. I said, look, I'm going to start a gym because there's nothing offering the young children that at the minute that I feel they should be getting.
Yeah.
The values I want to put onto young children, I don't see that anywhere else. And my grandparents who like, I love them. They've done so much for me. And they said, Adam, we're not business owners, mate. We work for other people. We like it safe. We do that. It's not for, don't be silly. Don't waste your time and don't get in trouble.
Mm.
And I was heartbroken, and I was like, maybe I'm not right. Maybe I shouldn't. But then back to being a fighter, how many times was I told, yeah, I'm going to be a world champion? You're like, shut up, Adam. Yeah, dream on, mate. You're from Newell, mate. Yeah. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to stick my fingers up to the world. I'm going to prove everyone wrong. And I've done that in business and in the boxing ring. And you got to believe in yourself all the time, because you will get setbacks. But anything worth achieving, it's going to be a struggle, right?
You got to put effort into it. Anything that you want, it's never going to be handed to you on a plate. Put in the effort, put in the work, and then the world always finds a way of bringing it back to you, I think.
I'm a massive believer in that. Massive, yeah.
Put out what you believe, and you'll get something good in return.
Totally yours. It's so weird. It's like going a bit spiritual, but I'm a massive believer in that. If you're nice to other people, the message gets out, and if you want it bad enough, it will come.
A little bit of a quick fire round now. So I ask the same questions to each guest I have on the podcast, so no pressure. So what is your favourite marketing campaign?
It's got to be Red Bull, hasn't it?
I like Red Bull. Red Bull's good.
Yeah. It's got to be Red Bull. It's fun. It's energised, and it's sort of off the cuff a little bit as well, isn't it? A little bit cheeky, and I like that.
Well, they use it so much. Obviously, they're really connected with their the sporting personalities as well. Extreme sports, like they put so much effort into that, and I think it's great because it almost seems like it comes from the people. It's not coming from a corporation or a company. It's coming from the people. And I'm pretty sure as well there is an old. You'd have to correct me if I'm wrong, but there is an old campaign where basically they filled garbage cans in America full of empty cans of Red Bull, so that people would see like, oh, everyone's drinking this drink Red Bull, and then like, what is it, and then buy into it that way. So I think they have got some like really cool ideas out there.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's part of their monster marketing. So I learned about monster marketing, where they sort of do stuff and they don't say, hey, this is what it tastes like, because what's Red Bull taste like?
Yeah, well, it tastes like Red Bull.
It tastes like Red Bull. But they've never said, in anything I've seen, they've never said, this is what it tastes like, this is what it do for you. So it's monster marketing where they'll be like, hey, look at this, like, I can fly, I've got wings. And here's the Red Bull at the side. Do you know what I mean? So it's sort of a little bit discreet, and monster marketing, absolutely fantastic.
Really clever. Brilliant company. I love it. So, second one, what is your favourite? There it is. There's the Red Bull. What is your favourite viral video?
Viral video. See, look, obviously my passion is kickboxing. I think kickboxing solves everything in the world. And I really do, because the mental side of it and all this. But I do love like Rico Verhoeven put some out there, who's the prince and now the king of kickboxing, winning glory for 8 or 9 years now. Absolutely fantastic, undefeated in that period. So I love his things, his motivational talks, and it's just very calm nature, and he's always so passionate about the sport and very respectful of his opponents. So anything from him, really.
Perfect. So if you had to live on a desert island with only 3 things, what are you taking with you?
It's tough, isn't it? It's what a tough
It always
question.
stumps
What a
things,
tough question.
This one always stumps people.
If I don't say my fiance, I'll be in trouble. My daughters are my biggest why in life. Anything for my daughters, and that anyone that knows me knows that I'd have to have my dog. My Cane Corso Reva.
I think that is a good set.
Yeah.
It's a good lineup.
I think between Pip, my daughters, and Reva, I think we work the rest out. We work out how to cook. I mean, Pip's a fantastic chef, so she can make the best food out of anything. So that part's, people are thinking, oh, I need fire, I need this. I'm resourceful from the ex-military. I can sort fire out. That's not a problem.
You're investing in people that are around you.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what we said earlier for the business. Yeah, get the right people around you.
Get the right people. So this one always throws people off a little bit as well. Are you a Lidl, Tesco, Asda, Morrison, Sainsbury's, or Waitrose?
So being a business owner, I'd like to say Waitrose. So here's the thing, Dan, I've never once been into Waitrose.
Neither have I. I've never set foot into a Waitrose.
I'm from Swad, mate. It's Audi or Lidl, and it's a scrap. It's a scrap between Audi and Lidl.
Whatever you're feeling on the day between those two. Sainsbury's if you're feeling a little bit out of there, but
yeah, there's always Audi and Lidl are brilliant, but there's always them things that you can't get. So you have to do your Tesco or Morrison's. It'd be Morrison's or Sainsbury's for us.
Go around for the rest of it. Yeah. Awesome. So what is your favourite product of 2024, last year?
What, that I've bought? Or
So I always leave this question pretty open, but it can be what you've brought. It can be something that you've had for years and you've gone, do you know what? That's an underrated thing that is like part of my life, whether it's like the spanner that you've had for like 50 years or if it's like the, something new that you brought.
This throws a spanner in the works because I love my motorbikes. For me, it's that I'm not the best, I've never raced a motorbike or anything like that. But for me, it's that mental health side that I can get on and it makes me feel alive. It makes me feel good again. It makes me feel human. It makes me feel life. And I like to give a quick shout out and say, lads, who's up for a quick ride? We did this a few years ago, and I was having a bad time upstairs in my head, battling myself. And I went out with two of my friends, and we've got the comms on, and we're having a chat, and we didn't say nothing, and we were out there 40 minutes, and then I just said, thanks, guys. And they were like, what? And I went, we've got out. And I said, I needed that so badly. I said, I didn't want to tell you. I said, but I was having a bad time, So for me, it's got to be a motorbike. But here's the flip side of it. It's a KTM. So I've just bought a KTM Super Duke Evo. And now they're going bust, aren't they? So it's like all the things. Don't buy a KTM. So the best thing I've bought is probably the worst thing anyone could buy.
At the same time.
Yeah, they were like going out of business. I'm like, oh. So but I love, it's a bike I've wanted for a long time.
And it's something
and it brings everything
if you personally want it and it's a personal goal, then go for it. Like, why not?
And even like today, I've had to pop the garage up and just look at her, and I can't ride because it's freezing cold. But I'm there, and it just makes me feel good. I've not even started. I've just had a little look, and I'm like, "Oh, bless you." They'll be like,
"We'll get you out soon."
It warm up soon, yeah. So it's about making you feel good, and the bike certainly does that.
Brilliant. So, as a business owner, we all have to do a little bit of networking. Meeting people. What is your biggest networking ick?
Ick.
So ick as in like something that like someone does something and you're just like, oh, that's a bit lame, or that's a bit like cringe, or like an ick is kind of like a bit of a turn off, like in when you're networking.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm going to hit this right, but I don't really know, to be honest. It's people trying to be something they're not. And I don't want to upset people here, but be yourself.
Yeah.
Because no one can be the best version of you. And if you're the best version of you, you're going to succeed in whatever that is. And people will be attracted to you. And that's not saying, oh, I'm perfect, I've won every fight and all that. It's letting people see your vulnerable sides as well. So it's relatability. And I hate it when people are there saying, well, I've done that. And I'm thinking, you've just copied everything I've flipping done. And that's fine. If you want to copy me, that's fine. If you want to come and meet me, I'll tell you how I do stuff. That's absolutely fine because I want to network with people.
Yeah.
Don't fight against me or think, right, I'm going to... come and work with me. But yeah, it's people trying to be something they're not.
And sometimes aggression, like unneeded aggression, when they're trying to almost big themselves up to try and better someone. There's no, like you say, there's no need for it. We can work together rather than trying to instantly working against each other or anything like that.
The amount of times I've had fresh people walk in and they'll be like, "Hey, I've done kickboxing," and they walk in and I'm like, "Oh, what on earth are you doing? Put your carpets down outside. We're not like that here. It's nice. Everyone's nice." And like I said earlier, it's this us and you go. We were sparring yesterday. It was like 8 or 9 clubs, usually around the Birmingham area, and we were down there yesterday. And you've got like British world champions, and our guys are down there doing a free sparring day with them. We were doing it here next month, a free session for all our fighters, and there was no one's like going, "I'm the hardest here. I'm going to do." Everyone's just like us. "Oh, how many fights? Oh, yeah, you're new. Okay, so I'm not going to go hard on you. You still learn. I'm still going to hit you with stuff, but I'm not going to go as hard as I will against him."
There's that mutual respect, isn't it? Really?
Yeah,
definitely. Peer-to-peer respect, which I think is really important. Continuing on the theme of networking, do you have any embarrassing networking stories?
Probably more than I can mention. Really, yeah. I've spoken to people and said, "Oh yeah, brilliant." So I've introduced this person to somebody else, thinking, "Oh yeah," and I've told them a little story about them. And they're like, "Oh, then," and you could see the panic in their face, like they wanted to get away from me. And I was like, "That's weird." I was like, I really bigged them up. I was like, "Oh yeah, really good. So how is your wife? Is she still doing this?" And I knew everything about this guy. And he walked off, and it must have been about 2 or 3 days later, I realised it wasn't that person.
Oh, no.
So I'm like, but I'm so, as you know, I'm so full on with everything I do. I'm like, "Yeah, this is his," and I was like, "Oh, it's brilliant. Oh yeah, and yeah, she's doing this now." And he's like,
he was just going with the flow.
But he was like, I think he was that afraid to sort of break my mojo. He was like going along, and he was like looking at the door, thinking, "Can I get away from this guy? What is he on about?"
Like, what is going on?
And then it's awkward because the next time I meet them, I see them like looking down, and I'm thinking, but I'm like, "Oh, he really reminded me of that other person."
I mean, it can happen to the best of us, really, especially if it's like, you meet a lot of people when you're a business owner. So keeping track of names, I'm awful with names as well.
Oh, dreadful.
But I also hate calling people the wrong name. So I always go into it almost like setting myself up for failure sometimes. I mean, like
everyone's mate, it's safe.
Yeah,
I'm like,
that's
mate,
easy.
Yeah, so here's
Keep
my
it
mate,
simple.
and this is mate. And, do you know what I mean? I try and steer off the names if I can. But yeah, the other thing I think with the networking is we're all human, and this is a big learning thing that I've definitely learned is don't be intimidated by the big players. Or in your head, because everything's perception, of course. So my perception, if I go into a networking thing and I think, "Oh, this guy makes like 2.4 million a year through martial arts," which he does, and then there's another guy who makes 2.8 million a year, and these are top players, and I'm thinking, flipping out, I run a little gym in Swad. I try and help people. Do you know what I mean? I can just cover the bills. I can just put this back into it.
Yeah.
So don't be intimidated, because when you talk to them, they're just human. And they want to help you. As we said earlier, everyone wants to help each other. And they're like, "What can we do for you, Adam? How can we help?" I'm like, "What? Why do you want to help me?" And it's not, it's learning that we grow together. Because if we make kickboxing bigger here, we're going to get better fights on in the future against them. And then if we're raising our standards, they're going to raise their standards. And, this should be happening in our local community more. And I'm always saying to the other clubs, I'm like, "Come and join us. Come and join us. Come and learn what we're doing, and then we'll come and help you as well if we can. We'll learn off each other."
It's that ripple effect as well of like, everyone helps together, and it just helps. Everybody benefits from it. The community benefits from it. Other businesses benefit from it. And I treat like the same when I speak to like other peers and other people in marketing. A lot of people are like, "Oh, why do you share your ideas around all the time? Or why are you giving people for free?" Or it's like, well, we're all working together. When we're all this hive mind thinking about, the same thing, generating new ideas, everyone's going to benefit from it. It's just going to be a much more positive thing.
It is. And also you've got to see that not everyone is going to love you. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, I've had people, and I'm like, "Do you know what? Why don't you go to so-and-so there? Why don't you go to so-and-so there? Because I think that would be a better fit for you." Because if I'm not giving the best quality that I can to my students, then I want them to develop somewhere else. And I'm not always going to be the best fit. So they should do that. It's like, look how many barbers are in SWAD.
Yeah, there's so
Do you know
many. Yeah.
how many? But they don't go, oh, I'm not going to open a barber shop because there's one next door. They open right next door.
Yeah.
And then, we had how many card shops in SWAD at one point?
Charity shops, card shops, and phone shops.
Yeah,
That's
no,
what it used
I won't
to be.
do it. It's not for us. And they're like, yeah, go next door because they might have it.
Yeah.
So if they can't do it, why can't all businesses do it and build?
100%. It's that community feel, and I think community is king. Like, if you gotta look out for the people around you first before you obviously start going international and things like that. Because ultimately, if you're helping people where you live, your own living situation is going to be better, and it's just feeding. It's that wheel that just feeds back
and
into itself.
I think negativity breeds negativity as well. And if I'm there saying, "Oh, don't go there; they're rubbish. Come here, we're the best." Why? Why are you? Where if I go, "Oh, you know what? That might be good for you. You train that? Oh, brilliant, nice one." Do you know what I mean? You don't need to be calling each other and they're rubbish, because why are they though? Why are they rubbish? Unless you've got some like proper dirt on me. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, why?
There's no need for that aggression, like slagging other business owners off or anything like that.
And it just brings. But the thing is, if I'm here saying, "Don't go that club because they're rubbish. Don't go there because they're rubbish. They don't teach you properly. They don't know that." That makes me look bad.
Yeah.
And you just think, what an idiot.
What kind of person does that make?
I don't want to be around him. I'll be like, oh, good. Yeah, maybe you should try them. And I say, yeah, go to the others first and then come and see the difference. We might be exactly what you're looking for, but if we're not, I'm not precious. Go there and get the best results you can, because each coach will give something different for you. So it's getting the best fit, isn't it?
Thanks so much for coming on, Adam, and talking to us. Your insight has been really valuable. I'm sure people out there are really going to benefit from the stuff they're going to say, especially some of the people in the local community here in SWAD. Adam's socials are all going to be in the description below. He's obviously follow Fight Station on Instagram, on Facebook. Check out some of the videos that I've done on there as well. I've got to do a self plug in there somewhere. But have you got any final words, Adam, before we head off?
Yeah, just as our slogan says on the back of our hooders, as you see round SWAD and the local community, dream it, believe it, achieve it. Us.
Thank you very much, guys. See you later.